Welcome back to the ESPN Hoops Hits podcast presented by Tab. I'm the Scope, joined by my man, the Grub.
How are you, Scopey?
Good, brother. Good. Plenty of sports on the way. Scopey? Scopey 6 again, Grubby.
Grubby.
You have you with Grubby?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right. Speaking of Grubby, the UFC. Reactions off the back of a really controversial card. There's always controversy when we get to the UFC. UFC 310. The Georgia Bulldogs, they take down Texas to win the SEC championship. That had plenty happening without not much happening at the same time. Can the Lions win the Super Bowl? Now, I don't know why Shabs put this in after they just narrowly defeated my Packers. But I'd love to get your opinion on that. Archie Manning reveals he's got a spot where he wants his grandson to play at, even though it's probably 2 years away. Got to remember, Arch Manning was the one who told Eli not to go to the Chargers. Instead, he ends up having a potentially Hall of Fame career at the Giants. We've got some MLS news. Marco Reus finally gets his trophy, but it's at the LA Galaxy. And Stalemate, do the NFL rules favour offences in the modern game? I'm going to break that down. And I think I'm going to have a different opinion to you on this one.
I agree. I can feel it.
You can feel it?
I can feel it in the air.
All right. Can you feel left on red?
It's my favourite segment. Let's get into it.
Because we rely on the punters, the listeners. So let's get into it. The first one comes from Facebook, and we said we're going to start off in the UFC. Very controversial. The judges, this one comes from Boomer Spina. Great name too, by the way.
The Binner.
Binner. Judges got to stop drinking. They get free alcohol or something with the laughing emoji. This is off the back of Alexander Volkov. He has called for the UFC 310 judge to be fired after the back of the decision against Garnet. Did the judges get this one? How did they get it so wrong, in your opinion? Or did they get it wrong, and how did...
The worst UFC decision I've ever seen. That is a big call.
Yeah. There's been some doozies.
There's been some... This was actually embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was actually embarrassing for a few reasons. If that keeps happening, they're going to follow boxing.
Yeah.
We know where boxing's at right now. We've seen a couple of absolute stinkers of late. And, how do you land... double the amount of strikes, 52 more seconds on the ground, and had a takedown, and you still lose the fight. What do you got to do to win the fight? You could see the embarrassment on Gainer.
Cyril wasn't completely sold that.
He knew.
Yeah.
He was embarrassed. He was getting booed. It's not his fault.
Yeah, it's not.
But at the same time, Dana White, he said they got it wrong.
Well, here's my thing with Dana.
Okay.
And this is where I'm over it with Dana, and he's probably the one personality. With boxing, it's a little bit harder because they've got all these sort of divisions and different belts, and we don't like it gets messy. We know Dana's the guy. Dana has to do and change something that I've been calling for a while now. Put the scorecards up and put them up so everyone can see them. So the trainers, the coaches, can also alert their fighters and let them know, believe it or not, even though you think you're in front, so you could be defending or working your way to a victory at the end, you can actually go for it and try get a finish and try get a knockout, get a TKO, get a submission. I've been saying this for years. Dana's got to stop complaining about it and take it out of, or at least give the coaches and the fighters a chance to reconcile what could be wrong.
Well, in every job in the world, there's accountability. But I just feel stinker after stinker after stinker call. Nothing happens. Nothing ever happens. Well, the commission's got to come in and re-educate, these guys. Because why can everyone else in the world see it? Why can our viewers see it? Everyone can see it. Everyone's saying the boys are on the
we got the best viewers in the world.
And they're maybe they need to get breath tested before, and then we'll see. But yeah, that was embarrassing for the sport.
Yeah. Well, I was happy I had Bryce Mitchell a little bit early on and he got a finish, so I didn't have to worry about any of that judging. So we're doing that responsibly, of course, as well. Let's move on to the MLS. We've got a champion, and we've got, this one comes from Snow Percy. Marco Reus is the MLS Cup champion. So, for those who aren't aware, Marco Reus has been around for a minute now. He hasn't been a part of the German teams that, won the World Cup and the Euros. And he gets himself an LA Galaxy title. So, considering what he's done, played internationals for Germany, played over in the Bundesliga at big clubs, where do you think the LA Galaxy Premiership is gonna? What would it be like for us? What would it be like? Are we putting? We both played in the Super League compared to the NRL. Would we cherish a NRL grand final the same as we would a Super League?
I don't even think it's that close, Hoz.
It's not even as close as what we had.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the Super League, like if I won in the Super League over in Hull, I'd still take it. Yep. I'd still claim it.
Yep.
We definitely didn't go close to winning it. But also, we should be on that list. Two guys that haven't, two blokes that haven't won.
All right, so let's get to this actually. Though I'm going to toss this up. So we've got a couple of notable athletes who have never won. On this list, we've got Charles Barkley, Barry Bonds, Patrick Ewing, Tony Gonzalez, James Harden, Allen Iverson, Harry Kane, Dan Marino, Randy Moss, Steve Nash, and CP3. Any name that stands out where you're like, geez, I wish you'd got one?
Me.
Josh Reynolds, Justin Horo.
I go to bed every night thinking about it, mate. But
my one's Allen Iverson. I wish Allen Iverson had won an NBA title.
Yep. No, it's one of those things, Hodge. It's I'm sure you're saying I was proud of my NRL career and what I've done, but it still sits in there sometimes. When grand final day comes, it hurts. Yep. It really does. And
we got close, didn't we?
Yeah, played in a couple as well when losing, but he was known. Reus was known as the mock. So everywhere he sort of went, he couldn't win one. He just wasn't either getting picked or he was injured. But yeah, look, I don't know if he's gonna tell his grandkids one day. I don't even know if he'd mention it.
Well, it depends if his grandkids are growing up in LA and he stays there because he's got a beautiful location. He's moved to America. He might settle down there. It might mean a little bit late. More to him later on in life than what potentially a Euro Championship could have been, a World Cup final could have been for him.
Because he got injured for when the World Cup.
The World Cup, it might have been early on in his career, so he was in and out of the team. I'm not 100% whether he actually ended up making the final team for the Germany World Cup, but he's been around for a minute, been a really good player, and he finally gets to tick that box as a champion.
I've got a question for you, Hoz. There's always like people in and around the team. Just look at someone like the Panthers. If you're in and out of that team all year but don't play in the GF, do you still have the same feeling as winning a comp?
Oh, okay. So now we're comparing it to NBA players. So everyone in the roster. Sometimes players just sit on the bench especially when it gets to the playoffs. When it gets to the playoffs, they basically have their starting five and a rotation of 3 or 4 that they use.
Yep.
So there's some guys that get rings who might be, basketball player number 9, 10, 11, 12, who play a couple of games throughout the season. So would you like the argument for every squad player getting the ring, or where do you sit on that?
I think if you've played that year, played in a game, maybe like above I reckon 5 games.
Yep.
But I don't know if I'm getting the tattoo.
There's no tat. There's 100. That's a grub act.
That's a grub act if you get the
tat. Speaking of grub or no grub, actually, we forgot to talk about it at the start. Did you see the clip? This is not even on the agenda. Rookie rosters. Bronny James, because this is what I'm getting to, roster of 12. He's on the roster. He's sitting there. Bronny James is trying to sit down the end where the OGs sit with his old man. AD walks off. He's playing. Get to the bottom rook. And then I seen Rui Hachimura. He has a little bit of a laugh about it. They put the nice comfy seat in for AD. LeBron doesn't say anything. Bronny James down the end, son. Grub or no grub for AD for making Bronny move in front of his old man LeBron.
This reminded me of our man Mace. He loves stuff like this.
Yeah.
Old school, earn your stripes, get out of here. But the times have changed now, Oz. Everyone's on the same level. We're all doing the same things. But for me, it's definitely not a grub act.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah. I'm all for it.
And I love the way that LeBron smirked and laughed at it as well.
He loved it.
He didn't interject. AD's killing it for him. AD was playing well. Down the bottom, Bronny. I love to see it. Speaking of dogs, we got some dogs. The Georgia, they just know how to win, mate. They just get the job done. This one comes from Justin Bramsey. How about them dogs? Georgia beat Texas in the SEC championship game after Trevor Etienne's touchdown in overtime. Will Texas football host a first-round college football playoff game? Because they've been really good this year, but when it comes to big game experience in the last couple of years, Georgia just know how to get it done.
The Dogs, they just scrap. They scrap. Their offense was terrible. Carson was, I would get rid of him. I know that's a big call. No, I really would. I just don't like him this year. Bex, he hasn't stood up in big games. And
it's never been their bread and butter, though. They've always been defense run game in the
still,
past. Yep.
Like, I just feel, Carson Beck goes off injured. Gunnar Stockton comes in, starts slinging it. They look so much better. They look so much better. But, Hoz, can we talk about the play where, so Bex goes off with his arm, then Gunnar goes off with a head knock. Bex comes back in. They're losing 19-16. Beck's arm is sore. What are they going to do, do you reckon?
They've got to run the ball.
Well, you reckon?
Load the box, baby.
How don't Texas stop that play?
Load the box.
We're not professionals, but you got to stop that play. And I just think Texas, they got beaten twice this year by Georgia. Yeah, and that's big. That's never that hasn't happened in the SEC for a long time. But I'll ask you a question, Oz. So Carson, he's just not doing it for me at the moment. Do you change the quarterback this late in the year? Because, for me, Gunnar Stockton looked awesome.
The only change that I can remember of anything that's close to this would be when Saban went with Tua over Jalen later in the season, and that was a huge call, and it obviously played dividends. And I can't see it at this point of the season. You got to have some big balls to be able to pull the trigger on something like that so late. And he's been around and been there and understands the system. So I'm not too sure. That's a tough one. Let's flip to the other quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Let's go to Texas. Arch Manning's grandfather, Archie, the namesake, he is targeting the Dallas Cowboys. We got a message on Twitter from Run Lamar Run. It's time to admit that Ewers is holding Texas back. We want Arch Manning. So Arch Manning, the OG, is suggesting, just like he did with Eli, that he wants to pick a specific destination for his grandson. And he's thinking Cowboys. But first, he's still got a little bit left in this season and one more season at Texas.
Okay, so let's quickly talk about the Texas quarterback situation. Everyone's calling for Manning to get thrown in.
Where do you sit on that?
He was poor on the weekend, but Texas were poor. I think there was 10 penalties. You're not going to win a big game like that with 10 penalties.
It was a sloppy game, wasn't it?
In an SEC championship game, you are not going to win that. But everyone's like, whenever Manning comes in, he brings energy, this and that. Yeah, of course he does. But if you put him in there for a game, it's a totally different story. It's a totally different story. Ewers looks like he got the locker room. All those boys, when they talk, I watched the interviews, they got his back.
They rally around him.
Rally around him. But is there a chance to possibly bring Manning in when their offense isn't looking great? I don't know. I'm not a college coach, but there's got to be some way to spark it. But Grandpa Manning, can we just let the boy play? Sit on the couch.
It's still especially considering we're still 1 year removed from anything like that decision anyway.
I just think he's got to sit on the couch, enjoy your cup of tea, and let him play. He's not even in the starting side yet.
Get the paddle up for me now.
Man,
Grub or no grub, former players using influence to get sons, grandsons, because we've got Dion and Shador happening as well over at Colorado, and they've only got a couple of destinations that they want to go. Grub or no grub?
Oh, it's big grub.
Strong grub.
Let them create their own path. Let them do what they got to do. Yes, you made it, a big call and whatever could happen, but I've seen it happen, with NRL dads who have played. All you hear from the sons is, I just want to be my own guy.
Yep.
I just want to make my own path. I don't want pressure. How many guys have come into the NRL and everyone said they're going to be the best. They're the next Joey Johns. And then you just go every week, comparison after comparison. Let them just do what they got to do. This is why you got the college system. This is why they're a freshman. Let them earn their trade. And then instead of putting them straight into the fire of college football, let them blossom coming off the bench. Let them be confident. Then there's no targets on their back.
You know who I'd like to hear from? Timothée Chalamet, in where Archie Manning should be playing. Because his football knowledge, it surprised a lot of people over the weekend. So this one comes from Twitter again. It comes from W.R. Boland. You are fools for doubting Timothée Chalamet's ball knowledge. He drank the water of life. He is the chosen one, and highly entertaining. Pre-game, college day, game day, Pat McAfee, Timothée Chalamet. That's not something I would have put on my bingo card a couple of years ago.
Can I call something?
Yeah, go on.
Bull. I'm calling it.
Go on.
Because this is my analysis of the situation. I watch this closely, Holes. And look, we've got notes. It's okay. Everyone has notes. But, okay, let me set the scene. It's college game day. One of the biggest shows across the ESPN, a huge brand, one of the biggest broadcasters in the world.
It's arguably as big as like Monday Night Football at the moment. Yeah.
And we work for ESPN and we love them.
Yep.
Absolutely do. But Timothée, a very talented actor, Willy Wonka.
Yep.
Didn't like the second one. But he is a very talented guy, right?
Yeah, he is. I like him as an actor.
You're not telling me they gave him the script.
There's a bit of acting skills. Is that what you're getting to?
He nailed it. I'll give him that. He nailed it.
Oscar performance?
But people, he don't know ball, man.
He knows his ball.
No.
Chalamet knows ball, man.
Okay. I do a research. I like my research. I thought this bloke would have never even looked at sport. I wouldn't know what sport was.
Why is that?
Well, he just doesn't look like a sporty guy, man. He's Willy Wonka. But I found out he was an avid soccer lover. He wanted to play pro soccer.
Don't judge a book by its cover. He might not have the rig to be an athlete, but he
Knicks
knows
fan,
his ball.
He's a Knicks fan.
He's a Knicks fan.
Sucks,
okay, yeah. They're starting to see some better times recently.
Yeah.
So.
Is that harsh, bud? Is that or am I a bit too harsh? He done his research good on him.
From the outside looking in, before I would have assumed the same thing, but after seeing him just absolutely nail a couple of underdogs on college football, I'm all for him. I love it. I love everyone getting behind sports.
You know what sign I'd hold up in the background?
Yeah.
You know, they hold up signs?
Yeah.
Fraud.
All right, let's move on to Instagram. This one comes up. This one's from Troy Mert. I hope so. But lately they barely win a game. Whether or not the opponent is good or bad, get that 1 seed, then get 2 games in Detroit. And if they get that 1 seed, they can do it. This is off the back of the post that we had throughout the week. Can the Lions win the Super Bowl? A tight win over the Packers. In saying that, the Lions have been banged up. Packers were very confident going into that game. I think it's between our 3 teams. I really do. I think it's between your Eagles. I still think we're a chance in a playoff game against the Lions and the Eagles, who we lost to. We lost to both of them, but only by a bit. And they are starting to get a little bit banged up. So can the Lions win the Super Bowl?
Yes, they can win the Super Bowl, but I really think they need the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
I think they need the easy way in. I really do. Are the Lions, do they play pretty? No. Have they got the best roster in the NFL? No. Do I like Goff in big games? Absolutely not. But Dan Campbell's, man, I've never seen a guy bring a team so close together.
He is. I hate that I love him so much.
How good is he?
I hate that. That speech after, when Skipper's spewing up, whatever Skipper was doing on the side, and he just keeps on going on with his speech at the same time as pointing it out. I hate that I like him so much.
Is there a bit of hate? Like, obviously, like...
Yeah, I've got more hate for the Bears.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm being honest, but the Bears have always been, down the bottom. Vikings don't worry me too much. I don't think the Vikings are a threat.
I'm with you.
I'm not as worried about them. Lions are a genuine Super Bowl contender. I think you're right. Number 1 seed. I can't see them going to Philly and beating Philly in Philly a week out from the Super Bowl if that ends up being the path that they have to do by dropping a game late in the season.
Can you see Philly going there and winning there?
Yes,
possibly.
I do. Yes, I do. I can't see it the other way, but I can see that's why I like Philly the most coming out of the NFC.
I think the thing that I love about Dan Campbell as well is no matter what point in the game, no matter what's on the line, he's always up for a gamble. The Dan Campbell gamble, they're calling it now. And I know that's what I love about him. But we speak
Does he do it responsibly at all?
No, he doesn't.
Least? No,
Man,
he doesn't.
He's ruthless.
4th and 1, kick a field goal and win the game.
He don't care.
Or at least make him get a field goal that's ballsy.
But the one thing that does scare me, Hodge. All right, let's say it is Eagles Lions. Did you see the Eagles game on the weekend?
Yeah.
Ish. We're terrible.
I did, yeah.
Really poor. But then
Panthers are playing a lot better though.
Yeah, but some of the comments coming out of the Eagles, like AJ Brown and Hurts, like they're having cracks at each other.
Yeah, Brendan Graham had a podcast talking about it. Something's up.
Something's up, man.
It's fractured at the moment.
And what happened last year?
What happened with Syria? Like, what's up with Hurts? Is it a Hurts problem? I thought it was Sirianni. If it's Jalen and Sirianni, now it's Jalen and AJ. What's Jalen doing? Is Grub or no Grub? Jalen Hurts. Give me that.
Man.
Come here. Chuck it over here. Chuck it here.
Yeah, don't make me
Chuck it here. It's my first. I don't think I've done one in a while.
Here we go.
Grub Jalen Hurts.
Get off him.
Must be. If
Yeah,
he's
I know what you're
involved in
saying.
two different occasions,
Oh,
and
my
Brandon
bat,
Graham's
please,
talking, yeah, that's your bat too, by the way. If he's involved in two different occasions, and Brandon Graham's saying something, he was alluding to that Jalen is trying to be the better out of the two, and AJ's not a fan of it. That makes me think, what's Jalen doing? Something's up with Jalen.
Or is he just holding him accountable when he says the pass game straight up? Apparently they're close.
Yeah.
The Jalen
They're really close.
So maybe it's just mates being held accountable. Okay. But boys, hold on. Come on. We know what happened. We fell off the rails. Hold on, please.
All right, let's move on to Instagram. This one comes from Instagram, Ricky Unions. This would have been an all-star dunk contest from a couple of years ago. I was watching this game live. Ja Morant said he wasn't going to dunk anymore, said he's looking after the rig, goes into the basket, whips it around, and almost does a Vince Carter-esque all-star basketball championship dunk. Sometimes you just can't help yourself in the moment. Grizzlies were really good in that game too against the Celtics.
So, like, all I want to know is, like, I'm happy if I jump and touch the bottom of the net. How does this bloke jump mid-air and sees the defender mid-air and swaps the dunk he's going to do? Like,
it's like they pause in the air too when you're watching it live. It's like
right.
it's in slow motion for them. How they get those hops like that. Vince Carter's one of the OGs. It's one of the best in-game dunks that I've seen. I loved the old CP3 little screen back to Blake Griffin. One of my favorites of all time was when he dunked over Kendrick Perkins, because I wasn't a Kendrick Perkins guy. And if you go back to that game too, that is a young Blake Griffin with DeAndre Jordan, CP3, that were doing good things in the West, against the Oklahoma City Thunder of James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook.
the boys. They're my boys, remember?
What a crew.
When we went to watch
What
them.
a crew.
What a crew.
Those were some good battles too.
That was some good. I've got a question for you, Hoz. And I'm so glad that the self-imposed non-dunking, get rid of it. We love it. But I will say, as a coach, if a guy is that good at dunking, but in the meantime he's actually getting injured doing it, do you stop him doing it?
Well, see, I don't think you're ever going to be able to take that instincts away from a guy like Ja Morant. If he's got it in the bag, there's an opportunity to do it. I like that he's actually mindful of it, because I think, wait till we get to the end of the year. They were part of my rankings last week. Watch out for the Grizzlies. They were a problem a couple of years ago, and they were basically the way we view the Thunder now, this year. Young, up-and-coming team, a couple of years. You know, Ja Morant gets the Rookie of the Year. Now they get Triple J. He's a problem. Desmond Bane, he's a problem. The Grizzlies, they're sneaky. They're going to catch up. They're going to be a hard out at the back end of the season if they're healthy and if Ja Morant is playing.
They need him. I feel without him, I think they were like 6-4. Now they've jumped to 10-4 with him in.
Yeah.
They're a totally different team, but I think they'll fall short.
All right. Agree to disagree on that one. Let's get to the stalemate. And there were less people disagreeing on this specific one for this week. Producer Shabs had put it to our fans this week. Do the NFL favour the offenses in the modern game? So on Instagram, pardon me, yes, 100%. But as we know on Twitter, they're normally a little bit accurate.
Yeah, a bit better.
70%, 30% no. Producer Shabs also chucked this in as well. Yes, quarterbacks are a protected species, but it wouldn't be the game we love and know today had we not changed the rules. Superstars make football and injuries run it. Do you agree with Producer Shabs?
Oh, absolutely. The quarterback is a protected species. They know it. It's just like us halfbacks, mate. We know it. You can't touch us, all right? So stop it.
Kick pressure.
Kick pressure, no more. But it
Hitting you after you pass it.
Couple in the back. Got a couple in the back in the day, Hodge. But
You were also delivering them as well.
oh yeah. So I was all right with it. I was like, nah, go after him. I just think, Hodge, it's who watches the game. So do we want these games to just be all out attack, score after score? I think if you're asking the guy that watches the NFL every now and then because his mate's like, oh, did you see it? And he wants to join the conversation. Of course he wants to see it. He doesn't want to see a mid to low tier game where there's not much scoring. But if you ask the vets, the guys that have played before, not even at the top level, they want a close game. They want a chess match. They want, a product where, the defense wins games.
Yep.
And we all say it. We say it in the NRL. Defense wins championships. But does it actually? I think so. I think there's an element to the defensive side. We talk about the Chiefs at the moment.
Yep.
They're going, they're trying to make history. But their defense is good.
There's my example. So, yes, there are rules that have helped out quarterbacks, targeting, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when we look at the best team in the competition, whether you think about, they deserve to be with their record, with some of the close wins that they've had this season, they have another doink off the goalpost on the weekend, just gone against the Chargers. But it's their defense that gets the job done for them. It has for the last couple of years. Patrick Mahomes is the up-and-coming GOAT. I think he is going to really challenge Tom Brady when it's all said and done. But he's not necessarily lighting the world up.
No.
And he's the best quarterback in the world at the moment. Now, there are quarterbacks putting up better numbers.
Yep.
Look at Joe Burrow. He's
Wow.
putting up historic numbers. What's that doing for his team?
Nothing.
Doesn't necessarily mean the offense is putting up crazy numbers.
Yep.
They've only got 3 or 4 victories
That's
this
a great
year.
example.
So the Chiefs, defensively, even though rules have tweaked probably a little bit to favour the offense, it's the Chiefs' defense that has been a standout for them this year. And, in my opinion, defenses win championships. And I think the way everything's schemed up and how these coaches are training up their players these days, I lean more towards I'm liking what the defenses are doing this year.
Yeah, but
And when was the last time we seen like remember back when it felt like it was just every year Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers are throwing for 4,500 yards, 5,000. When was the last time like a 5,000 yard season happened? I feel like offenses are decreasing.
well, the only thing that I'll say about that, Hodges, is like some of those roughing the passer calls are embarrassing. They actually are. It's bad for the sport.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. This year is a very defensive season. Some of the great quarterbacks are under pressure. They're feeling the heat. They're having to look to, the run game to get them going. Before you're right, like with the breezes and stuff, mate, they just used to sling it.
Yeah.
No pressure, because that's when it was fresh, the quarterback stuff.
Yep.
But they'd be getting flags left, right, and center. But I also do feel, some of the defensive calls, like pass interference in big games, they don't call them.
Yeah.
They let them play a little
Let
bit
them
more,
play.
which is good. But I do think it's easy for offense to get a couple of those dodgy pass interference games, walk their way up the field and just constantly score. But
It's so frustrating watching those calls because I find it's very hard for the officials. There are some that are some just apps, just like we're talking about at the start with USC. Sometimes you get some absolute howlers. But for the most part, that's a very tough, like they're just battling all the time. There's constantly hands against each other. They're very hard to make those calls, especially in big moments. I can understand. I lean towards more always let the boys play. It's so hard to defend these wide receivers one-on-one, not knowing where the wide receivers know where they're going to go, and you've got to try guess. So I always lean towards more the defense. But, geez, they've got to make some big calls, and it's always around playoff times that we speak about it more often than
all right, Hoz, as a product, the NFL, you're the CEO. You're about to take over right now. You love the game. You've already just said you love the defensive side of things. The product, though, do you think average Joes want to see games 12-7 or 32-12?
Yeah, 32, probably higher scoring, 32-27, because that's the fantasy world we live in too. There's also punting. You're going to have prop bets and all that sort of stuff. You're doing it responsibly. So people want to see touchdowns. They want to see celebrations, and I'm all for that, but also love a really tough, gritty defensive game as well. And I don't think it's completely gone. So that's why I'm against the poll on this occasion.
So you're actually saying that you don't reckon they do it? I 100% am with the poll.
I think it favours them. I don't think it's affecting the defenses as much as we're making out. I think it's and that's more so to do with the coaching and the way that defenses are playing. Speaking of offense, Cynthia is on full attack offense at the moment. She's absolutely done it again. So let's get to the pick six, presented by Tab. And we'll look back at Cynthia, who nailed the Bucks over the Raiders, Steelers over the Browns, Eagles over the Panthers, Dolphins over the Jets in an OT thriller, the Vikings over the Falcons, and the Bengals, they just get the job done. Jamar Chase takes it 40 yards with 30 seconds to go, and they beat the Cowboys at AT&T.
Oh, the poor Cowboys again.
Poor Cowboys. How about them boys? So let's see what Cynthia has for us this week.
What's up, Grub and Horo? Happy Week 15. Here is your pick six for this week's NFL action. Number 1, the Commanders over the Saints. That is an away game. So are the next 4. Bengals over Titans. The Chiefs, they like to win games close, but they get the Browns away. I still think they win in this one as well. The Ravens over the Giants. This one feels like a pretty massive win. And then let's pick one home team just for good measure. The Cardinals over the Patriots.
So if you're paying attention there, Cynthia has missed a game. We're one short. So, Grub, we're going to come up with I'm feeling the pressure now too, because she's nailed about 6 from 6
on fire
this year. Are we going to add a little leg to this as well for the pick six?
I'll let you do it.
Ooh. You know I'm going to go my Packers over the Seahawks. And she normally goes, those games are a little bit closer, but are you happy with that?
I am happy with that because I thought you were going to be a smarty pants and throw in
I was almost
the Steelers against the Eagles.
Good value.
Well, go on then, do it. You ruin Cynthia's legacy.
Steelers over the Eagles.
Oh,
Lock it.
I'm sorry, Cynthia.
There you go.
But that is not for me.
For everyone playing at home, Cynthia's gone 5. If you want to chuck mine in there, you do that at your own peril. But I think it's good value, the Steelers. I think they're going to give it too much drama happening with your Eagles at the moment. Remember, you can check out Cynthia's preview for all primetime games available now in the Tab app.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
That's it, mate. That's it for another beautiful show here. We're about to get into playoffs. Going into the NFL. It's nearly Christmas time, New Year, so we've got Christmas games coming up for the NBA. So I love this time of the year, mate.
Name something better than Christmas Day. You got the biggest food coma, and your mum's doing everything, and you just lay on the lounge and you just watch sport.
Bit of Boxing Day cricket as well. Maybe you throwing the arm around in the background. You come back in, you watch the Christmas Day games that are happening as well. We're going to be working all the way through. So we're going to be here before Christmas, before New Year's, and we're going to keep you guys going because you keep us going. See you next week on Hoops and Hits.